Me, 33, and my husband, 31, have been struggling with money lately. I work at a hair salon, while he works at a gas station, basically have minimum wages that barely pay our rent and other expenses. We do not have any savings, nor do we have the ability to save money. It's been like this for years. Recently, I found out that the antique tea set that my grandmother gifted me was gone. My husband admitted selling it for $300 plus to be able to buy a gaming chair for his nephew who's recovering cancer patient. I didn't take it well. I told him this tea set was important to me and I wasn't willing to let it go that easily. Now if he was selling it to pay off debts or rent then maybe, but a gaming chair? No, not okay. He asked me allow him to explain and said that, A. I don't use this tea set like ever, so it's just sitting in the cabinet, B. His nephew has gone through so much and wanted a gaming chair badly, and he promised to award him for defeating cancer, and C. He said he will be giving me money to buy a better, modern tea set. But I refused to accept that it was gone and let go of it. I contacted the buyer, and he told me I had to pay $450 to get it back, which was unfair, but since he was barely convinced to let me have it back then I needed to come up with the money. I sold the only thing my husband had that was worth money, which was his box. I got $400 and borrowed the $50 from my sister. I paid off the buyer and he brought back the tea set. My husband found out and went off asking how I could do this to him. I asked him to hear me out, then explained that I sold this box since he was the one who gave away my antique tea set, so he was responsible for getting it back. He said he promised to save money for me to get a better set, but I insisted I wanted my grandmother's tea set and nothing else, even if it's worth less, because the sentimental value is worth a lot to me. He blew up calling me childish and that I should have sold his box, the only thing keeping him entertained in these awful times. He started sulking ever since and kept reminding me that he was the one with the short end of the stick. Since I got my precious tea set back, the buyer earned $150, but he lost his box forever. He's refusing to talk to me, calling me evil with zero consideration for how depressed and upset he is feeling. Am I the idiot for how I returned my antique tea set? Not the idiot, but you should consider getting out of this situation, like now. Not only does your husband not respect your property, but he also doesn't seem to have much financial sense. He could buy a cheap gaming chair for $100. He didn't need to spend $300 plus on one, no matter the reason. A sizable number of Americans couldn't put their hands on $400 in an emergency, and your husband sounds like he's in that group. That kind of money is a rainy day fund, especially when you're not making the kind of money to quickly recoup it. Your husband needs to get his financial priorities in order quickly, or you're always going to be fighting this battle with him. Your husband sold a family heirloom with great sentimental value and stubbornly refuses to admit that he was in the wrong because he does not respect your property or your feelings. Worse, he had no intention of even trying to get it back even after you confronted him, instead trying to gaslight you into thinking you were overreacting. If you just sold the console to get back at him, I'd say you were wrong too, but you did it to get your property back, and I don't feel bad for him because it was his responsibility to get the tea set back and he refused. But you need to find somewhere else to store your valuables. Who knows what he'll sell off next? He stole from you. He sold it without discussion because he knew you would say no. You are supposed to be his partner, not his piggy bank. You should try to find counseling that you can attend together to address this behavior and to determine if it is worth staying together. This may be difficult on your incomes, but you may find your city or state has low-cost options. Your behavior in turn stealing his property is not ideal, but I think forgivable, considering the urgency of your need and his absolute unwillingness to even hear your distress, let alone address it. So, my husband, 40, and I, 25, share a bank account. There are 3 kids in the house including my newborn. I didn't take any maternity, just kept working. I am also the baby's exclusive caregiver. He does stuff for older kids. A few pieces of information. I started a business about 5 years ago that ended up working out really well. 3 years ago my husband decided he wanted to stop working and stay home with me, so he did. Shortly after that he wanted us to merge bank accounts. I also want to put here only because it's relevant that I bring in a high 5 figures that allows us to be comfortable where we live. We aren't rich by any means, but we aren't struggling either. Fast forward another year, he started making budgets, weekly ones and then ones, to buy things he thinks we needs, various gear, tools etc. He also controls how much we save etc. If I spend any money it comes out of the weekly budget and I have to tell him and round up, even if it's $1. So if I spend $1.58, I spent $2. Literally every single penny I put out has to be reported to him. It's very stressful. It also makes buying things for our kids hard because even though we have tons of money outside his budgets I can't touch any of it, so I have to squeeze things they need into the weekly. So, last week I went out and I spent $20, I came home and I forgot about it. He noticed and got really upset. He was like, "This is unacceptable, why are you trying to destroy the family etc." About a year and a half ago I got in trouble for spending a few times without telling him, culminating in about $200 of missing money. I had to sell some of my things to make it up. He forensically examined the bank account and didn't find anything else I had spent without telling him, but he's still feeling very righteous in his upset. So, am I the idiot? I know budgets are normal, but I feel this is a bit much. You're a businesswoman and breadwinner in your mid-20s with children. If I can be blunt, it's time to stop being a doormat. Tell him point blank that you want discretionary spending autonomy, and it's ridiculous that he's counting your pennies. Tell him you'll both assess spending when it breaches a number like $500. Also, tell him it's not up for debate because you're sick of it. Stop letting him steamroll you. Not the idiot. I'm pretty sure this is financial abuse. You gave no control over any of the money you make as the breadwinner of the family. You're not going out spending thousands, it was literally 20, and he made you pay it back. Like what's the end amount he wants to save? I understand budgeting and being frugal, but this is too much. I'm sorry but this just screams to me that, if he's this controlling over money, what else does he have control over? Your idiot husband is using and controlling you. You're 25 and you financially support a grown man and his 3 children, plus your newborn. I hope this isn't real. No maternity, not allowed to take days off, asking the people you visit for money so you can replace what you've lost by not working. Him budgeting your money and controlling everything. Get rid of him until you'll be homeless and penniless. I, 26, was raised in a very conservative, religious family. I grew up in a small rural town, and that was just kind of the way everyone lived. It wasn't until I moved away to college that I really got exposed to different viewpoints, people, and lifestyles. My fiance, 24, is the complete opposite. She's always been a city girl and grew up in an environment where diversity and differences were commonplace and celebrated. We got engaged about 6 months ago and are planning our wedding for next spring. We've both spent plenty of time around each other's families and parents. My fiance has a sibling who is trans and one who is gay. When I met them, they were some of the first people I had met who lived that way, and it took a lot of learning, questions, and awkward conversations on my part to get some preconceived notions out of my head. My parents are the type of people who pray before every meal, go to church every Sunday, my dad hunts, my mom cooks, there's animal mounts on their walls. Very traditional and some would say old-fashioned. But they are very generous and loving and taught me work ethic and independence from a young age. Our families have only interacted once before, when we had them all over to our place for Thanksgiving one year. It was awkward at first, given how different they all are, but there were no harsh words spoken, and everyone left the encounter with nothing but good things to say about each other. Last weekend we went to visit my parents for a weekend. We happened to visit during bow hunting season for deer, and my dad went out early every morning. He came home with a nice buck one day and had it hanging in his shed. He was excited about it when he came home and told me to come see it, and my fiance came with. She was grossed out and asked my dad how he could kill an animal like that. He explained that he uses the meat to feed his family, including some sausage we had for breakfast the previous day. She got upset and said she can never understand how people like you can kill animals like that. I could see my dad bristle at the people like you comment, and I quickly took my fiance inside. I had a private talk with her and told her that she needs to be tolerant of my family's lifestyle, just like they are tolerant of her family. She said that was different because her family can't change their sexualities or gender, and my family could easily change. I told her tolerance goes both ways, and just because she might not agree with it doesn't mean she gets to chastise my family for it. She said she just can't feel comfortable around this type of lifestyle, and I got upset. I told her my family and I were nothing but accepting of her family, despite our unfamiliarity with them, and I expect her to be tolerant and accepting of mine too. She called me an idiot for not taking her side, and the rest of our stay was really awkward, and she's been really quiet and distant from me ever since. Not the idiot. It's interesting when people who think they are tolerant come up against a challenging personal situation and discover that they are in fact just as judgmental as the people they previously thought they were superior to. Unless your wife is a vegan, she has no moral ground to object to hunting for food. The animals hunted and eaten for food had a heck of a better life than the farmed animals that she regularly eats but doesn't consider who killed them. Good on you for allowing yourself to learn from new experiences and people. If what you're saying about your family is true, then good on them as well for being tolerant and possibly even open to learning in the way you did. Tolerance absolutely goes both ways, and you'd think with her coming from a more liberal background that she'd know that. That's the thing though, we liberals have people who can be just as close-minded as some conservatives, and it sounds like she may be one of them. This doesn't seem to be a popular opinion, but you're both kinda at fault here. She's definitely being the idiot for how she treated your family and for doing the people like you line. But you're being the idiot for comparing something that is a choice, hunting, to people existing, and for being born the way they are. Hunting or even religion for that matter are a choice. Being gay or trans isn't a lifestyle or a choice. In short, she was definitely in the wrong for the way she acted, but you comparing a lifestyle choice to the way someone is born is an idiot thing to do too. Your family is definitely not in the wrong, though they seem very kind and accepting people from the way the other interactions went. Context: I, 21, lived with my parents during the pandemic because my college campus was closed. At the same time, my dad, 55, was working from home. Without giving too much detail, he is a manager in a more or less big company. To make the story short, he is Boss Zilla. His voice was always so loud that I could perfectly hear him from my room, which is in another floor. And the way he acted with his employees. He cut short a lady's maternity leave, had them on mandatory extra hours all days. I heard him use the words, "Do you want to be fired?" a 100th times, etc. Honestly, it's horrible, almost monster-like. Believe me when I tell you that I had never met this facet of his persona, and not in my life I thought my father was even capable of such aggressiveness bordering in cruelty. Point is, this came back earlier this week when I was visiting them again for the weekend. I am having some problems with my major, nothing serious really, is more the fact that some of my classes are boring, and he jokingly said something like, "Boy, stop whining, you wouldn't last a day in today's work environment." Without thinking, I answered, "With a boss like you? No one could." His face suddenly changed, and he asked me to explain myself. I just told him the same thing that I just said to you guys, that his work self not only scared the crap out of me, but that it completely shattered the image I had of him. There was not shouting, not even angriness on my words, at worst I was passive-aggressive. After this, he was not the same, and the rest of my visit was really uncomfortable. Today, my mom called me and said that I should apologize to my dad because he was really hurt by my comments. As some would say, I am the apple of his eye, and this is the first time I have being rude to him. She also said I am a little bit ungrateful, seeing that he is the one paying for my education, my housing and everything, as I have no job. I don't know, I may need to apologize, but the thing is that I only said the truth, and maybe this is the moment he needs to realize what kind of person he is at work. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. This has brought out a new side to people that their loved ones haven't seen before usually. My work and my home personalities aren't the same. My girlfriend was kinda shocked how different they are. At home, I'm a goofball and always making jokes. At work, I'm a hard worker because that's what I'm paid to be. That said, I would never cut short anyone's maternity leave, and I've never threatened to fire someone. Your dad seems really over the top with his style of management, he's not a good manager at all. A lot of people tend to think that who you are in one aspect of your life doesn't reflect on who you are on the rest. That's untrue, it's all you. Your dad is a jerk at work because he is a jerk. You may not see it because he's not a jerk to you, but that doesn't negate the fact that every day at work, he's a jerk. He can be a strict boss without being so angry with his employees. Threatening to fire someone is not something a good boss does. Raising your voice is not something a good boss does. I only hope that he takes what you said to him to heart and reflects on his behavior to improve and stop being so toxic. I'm sure people have pointed out his work style to him before, it only stung because it was his kid and he clearly favors you as your mom mentioned. There's nothing wrong with being honest about how he acts. It's how he acts, and if it bothered him, he'd change it. Well, I don't think you're the idiot for telling him the truth, it's still going to upset him and may impact your relationship with him. I think reinforcing that you care about him, if you do, would be a nice follow-up. I, 19, and my boyfriend, 21, do not live together. I have my own apartment. I pay the full rent, my name is on the lease, and I take care of the place alone. My boyfriend spends a lot of time at my apartment. I would say he spends most nights there, but he does not live with me. I like having my own place that I can control myself. Tonight I am spending the night with my family because my uncle is at the hospital in a serious condition. My boyfriend offered to spend the night with me even though he had plans with his friends, but I declined and told him to still have fun and not feel guilty. I have not been allowed to meet his friends on over a year. When I asked my boyfriend why, he told me it is because they do not like me at all and do not want to see me. I found out the reason they do not like me is because a year ago we went on a cruise together, all of us. Later one of the guy's girlfriend texted me and asked if I was on the cruise as well. Apparently her boyfriend had told her there would be no girls on the cruise. That was a lie, we were several girls. I told her the truth and maybe it was not my business to do so, but it created some conflicts. Now, I am at my parents' house and my boyfriend asked me if he and his friends could spend the night at my apartment. I told him no, I am not comfortable having people at my apartment that don't like me and don't want to see me. He is really annoyed with me now because of this, saying they only wanted to watch some soccer game or whatever. I still tell him I do not want them there. Am I the idiot? I am not even at the apartment, so it really doesn't make a difference if they would spend the night or not, I just don't feel comfortable. Please tell me what you guys think. Not the idiot. Your boyfriend doesn't sound at all truly concerned with your well-being, and you have every right to not want folks at your place when you're not there, especially if they profess not to like you for something that sounds like wasn't your fault. It's not your job to lie or cover for anyone who obviously is making shady decisions in their own life, but it sounds like you're being held accountable regardless, and that's not right. This is a liability issue. What if your boyfriend or his friends burn the place down while you're not there? What if one of his friends falls down and gets hurt while in your apartment with your permission? In many, if not most, United States jurisdictions, if you gave your boyfriend and his friends permission to be in your apartment, then you could be held responsible for any damages resulting from their conduct while using your premises. This simply isn't worth the risk. Your boyfriend has a nerve. Tell him to wake up to himself. He has gotten so used to his friends taking this attitude to you that somehow he has become numb to it and thinks it is normal. It isn't. Tell him to have a good think about it and ask himself if it is really okay that people who refuse to even meet with you get to use your home freely while you are not there when they wouldn't step foot in the place if you were. It's insult to injury.